The interesting thing is you figured out a way to make money online. You left I assume a very high, a well-paying job in New York at BlackRock, and you didn't just go into making a whole bunch of money online. You had a process that you went through for doing that. You teased out a bit of that process on Twitter over the last few days, and I want to kind of get into the details of that, and then eventually arrive at the point where you are now, which is you've just run your 6th cohort of Supercharge Your Productivity, and you're sort of thinking on that, because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff we can explore there. So let's kick things off. I'd love to know, going back to that time when you were like, so I was at KPMG, so I kind of, there's some similarity here in terms of the big corporate environment, but why did you leave BlackRock?
Let's see. So let's rewind the clock with a brief history. So child of immigrants, grew up in New York City. Parents put me on the escalator with education, a ticket to Yale, SAT prep to say, go get a stable job and kind of get on that escalator and stay on that escalator. So that was kind of the setup, the backdrop. And I did it. I'm good at executing. I'm not the most creative, talented person, but I'm good at executing. And so I executed this plan, went to Yale, majored in computer science, got a job on Wall Street, and did quite well on Wall Street for 14 years. However, during that time, I had what my coach calls a pebble in my shoe, or you could call it a low-grade anxiety, or you're just something's off, but it's not off enough that I don't necessarily need to stop walking. And so the thing was for me is I thought that bonuses and being an MD on Wall Street and going to the Super Bowl and black cars and $150 bottles of wine for dinner, I thought that would plug a hole in my soul, right? And thankfully I realized after numerous iterations of those things, one Super Bowl, it was a really bad Super Bowl, the one in New York, but one Super Bowl and a bunch of bonuses, was this is not it. This is not it. And I looked at the people around me, I was 30 in my 30s at the time, looking at the people who were 10, 15 years older than me. They had the house in Summit. They were commuting to downtown Manhattan, kids in private school, 2 X5s, vacation home, somewhere up north. I was like, that's a really, really good life. Not for me. There's so much more out there. I don't know what. There's so much more out there. I got to give it a shot. I owe it to myself to give it a shot. And people always say, well, my wife's an artist, which means 2 things, no income and no health insurance for our American our fellows citizens. And so people say, dude, that was so risky. You quit at 35 with 1 kid, no health insurance, all that. And it was to some extent, I had savings, but you know what I thought was riskier? Knowing that my child would see me check out and do something for the rest of my life just for money and stability. That was riskier to me than the unknown of entrepreneurship. So that's the backdrop. 35 years old, 1 kid, no Cobra, 18 months of Cobra health insurance, pulled the plug. And I was like, I'm going to go and figure this out.
Yeah, amazing. I want to dive into it so you're a course creator, but I think it's fair to say you're a content creator first and foremost, right? So were you already creating content back then? And if so, where did you sort of start with that journey?
Yeah, the creator label still strikes me as quite amusing if you know my story. And so a few things about my story. I was a computer science major. I minored in economics. I didn't read fiction for 10 years. All I read for my 20s were white papers on stochastic calculus and time series for options pricing and really boring shit like that, and books on leadership and bios, like Shoe Dog, those types of books. Yeah. They weren't out back then, inspirational male CEO pornography, yeah. I guess. So it's funny to be you're a creator, you create stuff, you write. So, but to answer your question directly, not really. This thing all started because of a Gmail BCC. And what I mean by that was I was on vacation before I quit. I had rumblings, I knew I was going to quit. I just didn't know when. And I just had some time on vacation and I just did what you do on vacation, surf Twitter, and found a bunch of cool articles that I thought my friends would like. 36 friends on a BCC I said, here are 5 articles. I think you'll like them. I blurbed them with like 1 sentence each. There's a like why Elon Musk thinks from first principles. There was a Louis C.K. Mark Maron interview. I forget the other 3. And famous last words at the bottom. I don't know when I'll have time to do this again. Send. That was my gateway drug into the world of content creation.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. It's like the meme, how it started.
How it's going.
But there wasn't really a plan. And even with that, I basically gave myself 18 months to figure out what I wanted to do next with my life when I quit. I didn't think I was going to create content. Creating content was just, it emerged from those like that 36% email. And it just kind of took a life of its own. And it, to be honest, it like continues to take a life of its own.
Would you consider that the first rad read?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. And then from then, when did you start to take it seriously? Like, okay, now I have a newsletter and I'm putting this out.
I still don't. I would say, I mean, I say that kind of in a cheeky manner, but to some extent, like, I don't want it to become this, like, this is my business. And every Saturday you hear from my business. Like, I want to like write about weird shit and I don't want it to fit a formula, and I want it to feel fun as I do it. But to be fair, like, it is to some extent like the lifeblood of how I get paid. So I guess I have to take it semi-seriously. I think I really started to take it seriously when, so I quit in May of 2015. And in December of 2016, CNN lovingly called me Oprah for Millennials.
Yeah.
Even though my gray hairs and bald spot will let you know that I am much more Gen X than millennial. So then it was like, oh, it's a thing now.